Welcome to the High Vibe Show, living the high vibe life with me, your host, Elisa V. And together with my guests, experts in the art of living in a state of high vibration, we have got an amazing show for you today. My passion is to educate and inspire you to raise your frequency to a high vibrational state. Whether you're an awakened soul to the power of your own consciousness as a light being, or you're new to this spiritual path of expansion and growth, which is made possible through vibrating at a high level, you are in the right place. So stay here to experience fun, frequency upgrades now, so you can manifest all you want and help to raise the collective vibration of our wonderful world. Let's hit the restart button and high vibe it together. The High Vibe Show starts now. And welcome. Happy Monday. So I'm your host, Elisa V, here on Transformation Talk Radio. And you can tune in every first and third Monday of the month for some high vibrations. Do you ever think about what it would be like if you were your own spiritual warrior? It is possible. It is possible to feel sure of yourself all the time and live life on your own terms. Today, we have a special guest with us, Lucy Davis, spiritual intuitive. She's a transformational coach and an author of the book called From Head to Heart. And we're going to talk about today how you can, when you're in touch at the right frequency, right vibration, and being completely open to the universe, that's when you can meet with your authentic self, and that's when the magic happens. Welcome.
That was an introduction. Thank you so much. I was like, wow, I sound really good. Thank you so much for inviting me on today, Elise. It's absolutely beautiful of you. And to all of your listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in and listening.
Yes, I'm so happy you're here. So, just to let people know a little bit more about yourself, I know that one of the most important things for you is the mission that you have and that you like to talk about, and you, of course, bring forth in your book, is about inspiring people to step out of their head and into their heart space. And I want to, before we kind of jump into that, I just want to ask you a question. I ask this to all my guests. I just want to know, what is it about your vocation that most raises your vibration on a daily basis and keeps you committed to doing what you do?
I love that question. And it's interesting because it's something that I speak about through my seminars. I always encourage people to find something that gets them to be disciplined, because motivation is great, but it's the discipline that gets you out on the days that you don't want to do it. And my discipline is humanity. It's as simple as that. I don't have children this lifetime yet. And as much as I've got, lots of other things that are a motivation to get out of bed, there are days when I don't want to go to the gym. There are days that I don't want to show up and speak. There are days that I don't feel vibrationally aligned. So I have to look inwards within myself and say, okay, what's got out of kilter today for me to not feel like doing the thing that that you've been put on this planet to do? And I guess that's the secret sauce. It's about acknowledging who you are and living in such an authentic vibration that no matter what, no matter how many distractions you've got, you can just look to that thing that is your driver and you can bring it back in, and that can be your discipline. And literally, I had this situation yesterday. I didn't want to go to the gym. I'm a gym bunny, but I didn't want to go yesterday. The energies were heavy. I just felt like having a day off. And I was sat outside the gym speaking to one of my best friends. And I was like, I kind of can't be bothered. And she said, Lucy Davis, this is not like you. And it was in that moment I was like, yeah, you're right. You know what? There's probably somebody in that gym that needs me to go and increase their vibration. And of course there was. I got talking to somebody and I gave them the gift of my vibration. And when I left the gym, of course, as you always do, I felt absolutely amazing, but it wasn't because of my workout. It was because of the little bit of gold dust that I was able to shed on this gentleman who was clearly having probably one of the worst days of his life. It was so obvious. And I literally just made a passing comment to him, not realizing how low his vibration was. And boom, off the back of that, he came up to me afterwards and he said, you know what, you've changed my day today. Thank you.
Wow. I love what you said about the idea that we need to kind of understand our authentic self and know, get there. But the question I think a lot of people have is, how do you get there? I know you shared in your book, which, by the way, I have to just digress for a second. I saw the book. It's very long. And I said, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting this. And then I said, well, I'm going to jump in. And I literally, after like the first page, I said, I am so hooked on this book. And I love the energy. I love the honesty, the humor, and the just the sense of humor that you bring into it that makes it so real and down to earth and so heartfelt. So I have to tell you, I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying reading about your journey. But getting back to being our authentic self, how do we how do we get there? How do we find that place? What are some of the things that we all need to do that allow us to break through the mire of life that kind of can, pile on and let us lose ourselves?
Okay, so the first question that I ask absolutely anybody is, who are you? And every single person that you ever ask that question to will give you a big long list of the things that they're not. That's where they go. People naturally go to, well, I'm not this and I'm not that, and I could be better at this and I could be better at that. And then I take them back again. Yeah, but who are you at your core? And people get stumped. Okay, so tell me one thing that you love about yourself. Again, people get stumped. And this is the way I like to work with people, is to just gently give almost like breadcrumbs where they realize how programmed they are to an illusion. You and most people out there will go, well, I'm a mum, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a CEO, I'm a cashier, or like whatever it is, but you give yourself these labels. So in my world, the way that I did this was I looked at myself and I was like, Lucy Davis, who even are you? And I'd never asked myself that question. And I asked myself that question at 35, 36 years of age. Never once had I even considered asking myself before then. And I didn't know. Like, I was a massively successful director of an investment bank. I used to work for JP Morgan for many, many years, and then UBS and all the other big investment banks. And, I was a director. So I was well established. Like, I was a career girl, don't you know? But when I removed that label and I realized actually I didn't love my job, I didn't love anything about it. This is where the gold starts to unfold, is when you realize the labels and the buckets that you've put yourself in. You can obviously start to go, well, actually, I don't sit in that bucket. Like, I was the disruptor at school. I wasn't naughty by any stretch of the imagination, but I love to talk and I love to help people, which isn't good in a classroom. I just kind of flitted around and helped people. Likewise, when I worked on the trading floor, every single person that was above me, so the managing director level, would be like, oh, can you go and speak to that person because they'll do it for you? Because I wanted to get to know the person. I wanted to understand where they were at and how I could make their job easier. What can I bring to the party to help you get this done? So they always sent me in, which is very weird if you've ever worked for an investment bank or any big, large corporation. It doesn't work like that. Right. So I was always the anomaly. And it was only when I realized this by looking at the labels that I'd presented myself with, and I lived by those labels, by the way, and I lived really well by those labels. But it was only when I looked at those that I was able to say, right, what are the core characteristics and personalities, and who is the real behind those labels? And that's where I started to get the gold. And that's where I started to look. So my question to your listeners would be who are you aside from your labels? What do you love about yourself? What if money was no object? What would you do? Mm-hmm. And if you can go and invest some effort and energy, and I always say to people, grab a journal, grab a notepad, write it all down, explore it, see what makes you feel good. And, this is the High Vibe Show. And, if something feels good within you, when I used to sit there and say, oh, I've got to sit in front of a PC all day, my soul would shrivel up. But then when I'd say, but actually, I've got 10 of my colleagues walking up the stairs rather than taking the lift to get their exercise in, my soul would come alive. My vibration would increase. So although I was in a low vibe, in my opinion, environment, right, I was helping increase the environment within there. So it's really important it's basic questions we need to ask ourselves, but questions that we wouldn't even consider.
Yeah. And, when we spoke a little while, last time we spoke together, I know we were both saying, like, we were sharing our respective stories. And to the listeners, I haven't shared much of my story yet, which I will do in future episodes. But we both were talking about how there are certain, very difficult, almost traumatizing events that can happen in our lives that can actually, paradoxically change us and help us to grow. And they're actually the greatest catalyst. For me, it was my divorce and going through this very contentious, horrible experience. But when I look at it, it was really the catalyst for me to have this great awakening of mine, and then to put me on the path to ask the questions you were just saying about, like, who am I? What's the authentic Elisa? How do I get there? And like you, I realized there was a path and a desire to want to help people and to want to help them, find their truth. So can you tell me a little bit more about what the catalyst was for you? I know you talk a lot about it in the book, and it becomes, it's a very prominent part of your journey into moving from this kind of burnt out corporate executive into the real you and helping people.
Yes, of course. So my granddad passed in June 2013, and that was, my granddad at this period of time was like my father figure. I hadn't spoken to my dad at this point for about 7 years of my life. So him being, in my perception, being taken from me created a loss within me, which obviously then I had a gap to fill. What happened over the course of the next 6 months is my body physically started to deteriorate. Now, I'd had ill health for a very, very, very long time, but it had deteriorated over that period of time. And then in the April of the following year, I suffered physical burnout. So I physically couldn't go to the gym. I physically couldn't think properly. A lot of what people are going through right now, like my body was broken, and I don't like to use words like that, but for your listeners to understand where I was at, I was physically broken. I couldn't, I kept getting tonsillitis. I had hormone issues. I had digestive issues. My hair was falling out. I couldn't, like I say, go to the gym, which was just, I was an obligatory 2 or 3 times a week kind of girl back then, a little bit different to the way that I am now.
And this was prior to this was when Granddad got sick, or prior to it?
So I had a number of issues leading up, but it was like the catalyst when Granddad passed that it kind of got catapulted to a whole new level.
Yeah.
So off the back of that, obviously, like, I got stripped bare. And I feel that this is what's happening a lot around the world right now. So it's quite a pertinent question. I was stripped bare down to my bare bones so that I could have this arising, this awakening that obviously led me into the path of what I do today.
And, tell me a little bit more about the changes, like, from then to now, like, in your lifestyle. What are those more tangible things that people could understand that you went from to as this awakening was happening and you were really blossoming into the person that you're meant to be?
Okay, so the first thing was I was a big party girl, working in the investment banking world. To cope with the stress and everything else, I was a big drinker. My sleep patterns were extremely poor. My food choices were kind of like a grab and go kind of scenario. I didn't invest in my health, my healing, my mental health. I didn't invest in personal development outside of the programs and the courses that they sent me on. They groomed me to become an executive director, that kind of level, from a very young age. They saw me and they decided that was my path. So of course I did that development, but I never invested in myself. It wasn't like I invested in organic foods. It wasn't like I invested in good quality water or good quality water filters or anything. Whereas today, me and my health are my number one priority. If I'm not well, I don't have a business. I don't have anything. So what I've basically gone is from a self-sabotage mode into completely self-love, which is the total transformation.
Yeah. And we know how it's pretty common when you start to see people like blossom and become more authentic. Isn't it always just that move towards taking care of and honoring the body too? They just go so hand in hand, because mind, body, spirit, it's all one. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about what it means to be an intuitive? Because I think we all think we know, what that is, but I want to hear from you, like what that means, and if that was part of the journey that you either discovered or rediscovered.
Okay, I love this question. And I've never been asked it before. So thank you, because, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a really good question. And this is one. So I remember as a little girl being extremely in tune with the universe, extremely in tune with nature. I had imaginary friends. So anybody out there with children with imaginary friends, like from my side, that's children that can see spirit. Admittedly, it's just my perception, but I know, I had this beautiful imaginary friend, and I know she was a child in spirit. Now, obviously, with the wisdom that I've got. However, I closed all of that down until I went on my healing journey. And what basically happened whilst I was on my healing journey is I kept getting these things, what I call callings. And I would just get something drop into my head and I'd be like, wow, where did that come from? And I'd kind of ignore it back then because I didn't really get it. I thought, well, that's a bit weird. It's a bit kind of like off the cuff kind of thing. But what happened was these callings and these intuitive pulls started to become very, very powerful to the point that I couldn't ignore them. And since 2015, between 2015 2017, I would say I probably lived my life 50% on my intuition. Since 2017, it's been 100%. I cannot avoid it now. I will speak to some person like this man in the gym, a great example on yesterday. Intuitively, as soon as I spoke to him, as soon as I made this cheeky comment, my soul knew what she was doing. He said something to me, and intuitively, instantly, I got some information about him. So rather than me just verbaling that over him, I was like, right, okay, how can I do this? And I raised a question, and I literally saw he looked and his eyebrows went up because he knew I knew. And he knew that he couldn't do anything other than and hear what I had to say. But it wasn't like I was being intrusive. It was just hey, I know something's going on with you because I've just got this gift. And he opened up so beautifully to me. It was it, and that's, intuition is an inner knowing. Like that is the best way to describe it. You don't know how you know, but you know, and you know with 100% level of certainty. And it's not ego. When you get that, go on, do it. No, don't do it. Do it. You're not good enough. That's not that kind of noise. There is a very peaceful feeling within your heart. And then we just step forwards. We just step forwards with the knowing that we are in a position whereby we can obviously have a discussion with somebody or whatever. And this is how I work with all of my clients. This is how I live my life. And just before we came on air, actually, I said to you, oh, yeah, I'm just about to go off on a bit of an adventure. And you said, oh, maybe we'll talk about that. Yeah. This is a perfect example of my intuition. About 18 months ago now, I got some information that came through that told me something I was going to be doing in the future. Now, I'm going to have to be a little bit loose about this, just because I've got myself in a few sticky situations by telling people where I've gone. So please let's just go with it.
We'll take the broad sense of what you're saying as opposed to the specifics. That's perfectly fine.
So 18 months ago, I got this message. And then about 5 weeks ago, I got told it has to be done. Like you have to leave before your birthday. Now, my birthday is Friday of this week.
Oh, well, early happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So like, I didn't know why, and I didn't know where, and I didn't know how this was going to unfold, but I was like, okay, I need to start reworking my schedule, my diary, and I knew that I had this, so I was like, I have to go after this date. I have to make, because some of the places I'm going to go to, the Wi-Fi wouldn't be good enough to support this. So I was like, nope, I've committed to that, so I will definitely do that. So I'm about to embark on a journey that's going to take me to multiple countries over the course of the next 5 weeks. And what that basically entails is I will go to places and I will heal the energies of Mother Nature. So work with the energies of the earth. And no doubt, because this is what always happens to me when I'm away, is I will meet some of the most incredible healers from all around the world that will give me little gifts that will and I don't mean physical gifts, I mean gifts of information that will help me with whatever is going to come next. whether that's an outbreak of something, or, I know that cancer is on the rise massively at the moment. I've been speaking out about this quite a lot. The cancer rates in Europe right now are going up. I can't say I've checked America, but they're going up so significantly. Like every other person I speak to has had somebody around them. So for me, I'm like, okay, when I go off and do this work and I reset the energies, I don't question that people are going to give me information as to how we can help people heal going forwards, because that's my job. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to serve humanity in whichever way it needs to be. So, and I'm getting on a plane. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I just know that it will all work out exactly as it needs to, and I'll be placed exactly where is required for me to do what I need to do.
Now, when you do this and you go on these this kind of a journey like this, do you communicate, with your followers? Is there a way for people, or is it like you go on the journey and then you kind of report back? So I guess my question is there a way for anybody who's interested to follow you? Will you be doing, any lives or, anything like that during this trip?
Yes, so I will be doing lives, but the way that I work it is I do a lot of lives on my social media anyway, like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. They're the three platforms, and TikTok as well. They're the platforms that I tend to hang out on most. But when I'm away, what I'll be doing is when I've left a country, I can talk about where I've just been, if that makes sense. So it won't be, right, I'm going into the jungle now, or I'm going into this sand dune now. It won't be like that, but it will be retrospectively. So, this is what I've done. So it's not like people have to wait 5 weeks to hear what I've been up to. It's just when I'm in a certain place, I have to be very careful, because I've actually got myself in a few sticky situations in the past. So I've just learned not to do that.
Yeah, to do it retrospectively. So why don't you, I want you to tell our guests like how how they can follow you, or how they can get in touch with you. And in addition, I know you have an offer too today that you wanted to give to our listeners.
Absolutely. So you can find me on my website, which is www.lucy, which is Lucy, Davis, Davis.com. If you go there, you can find all of my social media links. You can sign up to my newsletter. Like, everything is on my website for you to be able to easily access. And the offer that I would like to do today is, now I'm going to do it slightly differently for your followers, because we actually want to make sure that, we get the right person and whatever. But what I want to do today is, anybody that is going to sign up for my newsletter, I would like you to email my assistant, which is support@lucydavis.com. And basically what she'll do, she's going to give you a special link for you to sign up as part of the Transformation Network. And what we will basically do is, all of those names will go into a draw, and you can win a free signed copy at that, of my book. And it will be shipped direct to you, so that you can, and then you will understand this journey that I'm just about to go on. You'll literally be reading it like, oh, wow, now I know the kind of thing that she'll be up to. So that's what we would like to do for your listeners today.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. And, I can attest to the fact that this really is, reading the book is really going on this journey with you. It's so beautifully written. So I want to thank you for being here. I am going to really look forward to finding out this mysterious new journey that you're on, and to be able to follow you. I know I follow you on Instagram with your lives, and find out more about all the wonderful things that you're doing. And I want to thank our listeners today. If you just kind of joined in late, we have Lucy Davis here, intuitive transformational coach, healer, and author of her book From Head to Heart, which I strongly recommend you. It's a great read. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, I can be reached at hittingtherestartbutton.com. You can sign up for my newsletter and check out all the great coaching programs that I have. Lucy, one last question. We have like a minute left. What does Lucy Davis do to hit the restart button when she's not feeling like she's in the mood to do whatever it is she has to do?
My normal go-to is breath work and meditation. They're the two things that I head to, because what I've learned over the years through my Thai boxing. I used to fight professional Thai boxing. What I've learned is you can get yourself in the right space purely by using your breath. And for me personally, when I'm not in the mood, it's because I've let my mind get ahead of itself. So if I can bring my mind back to stillness and my head back to my heart, then obviously I can do what I did yesterday, and that's like, come on, Lucy, discipline here. Let's go forwards. Let's rise up, and and give people a piece of the vibration that they deserve.
Yeah, it's all about getting that centered, right? Well, thank you
Absolutely.
so much. Thank you for being with us. And remember, to our listeners, you can hit the restart button at any time each day. Reset your frequency to bring yourself into an energy of love, joy, and peace. Until next time, this is Elisa V. Bye-bye, Lucy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to The High Vibe Show, Living the High Vibe Life. I'm your host, Elisa V, the Queen of High Vibe. Join us every first and third Monday of the month at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. This is the place to come for you to have loads of fun, frequency upgrades now, and have great guests to hear all about raising your frequency. For more information, visit hittingtherestartbutton.com. See you next time.